What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, I hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight. I hope you guys all had a great start to your week. Hope you guys had a great Monday. And of course, I hope you guys are ready for another live 2023 fantasy football mock draft with you guys, with the Catch fam, of course. So you guys know what to do, man. Hit that like button on the way in. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new to the channel. All we do here is free fantasy football content all year round. Redraft, best ball, and dynasty content. So if you're into that, thank you for being here tonight. And be sure to hit that subscribe button. But most importantly, hop in the live chat. Let me know what's popping. Any fantasy football topics you guys want to go over tonight. Redraft, dynasty, best ball, whatever it may be. Any NFL topics you guys want to go over. Let's get it going. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some fantasy football. Okay. I am going to send out one final warning on Discord that we are starting. And right after that, we are starting the mock. So get your keyboards, your mouse, your phone ready, laptop ready, whatever it may be. And let's get this thing going, man. I'm excited to draft tonight. I appreciate you guys giving me the weekend off. Had a good Father's Day weekend with the family. And we're here back at it. So let's get the draft underway. And there's your sleeper noise. And let's go, let's go. All right, let me make sure I'm all situated here. Okay, we're good. All right, we got all green dots across the board. So let me know what's going on, man. Let me know how everyone's doing tonight. I know before you guys ask, in reference to the two dynasty leagues that are finishing up, I mean, League 1 will be done by, I would say, like lunchtime tomorrow at the latest, if it's not done by tonight or first thing in the morning. Then League 2, what do we have, like 3.5 rounds or so left, so that league's wrapping up pretty quickly. I'm going to save any team reviews for a separate stream, so before you guys start asking me to go over teams in either Dynasty League, just be patient, and I'm going to have a specific stream where I go through each league. So I'm hoping that League number 1's quote-unquote review stream can be tomorrow night. And I think we can get that worked out. So, before you guys ask, I will pull up the draft boards at the end of the stream if you guys want to see how everything looks. But I'll do a little bit more of an extensive breakdown for a stream, because I think that would be a good stream. And that way you guys can tune in and kind of, expect a review for your team. All right, let's see who's in the house tonight. Emil, what's going on? How we doing tonight? Good to see you. J-Dubs, what's up, what's up? Chase Brown's in the house. Hello, hello. How's everyone doing tonight? Marco, what's up, man? Thomas, hello, hello. How's it going? Smokey the Cat, what's going on, everybody? Tommy says I wanted to go Bijan at 2 or 1.2. I mean, I'm not completely against that. I do think that, a majority of mocks, right, you're seeing JJ and Chase as the two first players off of the board, but, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to take Bijan, C-Mac, or even Eckler there. But I do think, for the most part, we're going to be seeing JJ and Chase off the board pretty much across the league. Or, I don't know, across leagues out there, I should say. All right. Moving pretty quickly tonight. First round wraps up. Running backs, we got C-Mac, Bijan, Eckler, and JT. Man, I was hoping, I knew Garrett Wilson wasn't going to fall here, but I was hoping he was going to. I'll just go Waddle. I still feel like Waddle in the second round is kind of getting just underappreciated at the moment. Like, I think he's being, I don't know, for the most part, still drafted pretty appropriately. But I just think, like, he's not really generating a lot of buzz. And when you really look at what Waddle did last year, I think he's a great selection at, the 2.5 area, finishing as the wide receiver 8 in full PPR with Tyreek Hill on that team. I mean, I think that's a very promising sign when Tyreek Hill had 170 targets last year, 119 receptions, and Jalen Waddle was still able to finish with 100 and 17 targets overall. So I like Waddle quite a bit. 8 touchdowns last year, just under 1,400 receiving yards. I'll take them all day at the 2.5. But yeah, I just think you have particular players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, who are definitely bringing that upside to the table, who are kind of generating that off-season buzz. And I just feel like there are, I mean, even players like Chris Olave just went off the board at 2.7. Like, I just feel like they're getting that off-season kind of hype, where a player like Jalen Waddle might be, I don't know, just overall feel a little bit underappreciated right now. All right, let's see. Talks League One draft will be done tomorrow, assuming Steven takes the full 8 hours. Yeah, I did text him. I think he might be asleep, though. Might be asleep already, especially it being Monday, being the start of the work week. All right, so far here in the second round, mostly just wide receivers off the board. We got Barkley at the 2.2. Looks like we lost Foster's. Maybe he's got a green dot. We'll find out. But Mahomes is there at the 2.6, and now Henry gone to the 2.10. Other than that, all wide receivers: St. Brown, Adams, Wilson, Waddle, Olave, Devonta Smith, Higgins. Now Breece Hall goes at the 2.11. We'll see what J-Dubs does. He goes with Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard. So, okay. As soon as I say primarily all wide receivers, we kind of switch that up. And into the third round we go. All right, I do want to get you guys' feedback. If you guys are worried about either Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs in terms of potential holdouts, in terms of that, drifting into the regular season, we see Barkley off the board at 2.2. As Kenneth Walker selected at the 3.2, and Josh Jacobs is still available. And I know a lot of you guys in the community have been really high on Josh Jacobs, but obviously those are the two players we're kind of eyeing right now for a potential holdout. I mean, I think most people agree that it's more likely to happen for Josh Jacobs coming off of the monster year that he had, and when he kind of get a sense of what Josh Jacobs is feeling right now, some of the things that he has said. It does feel like he's a little bit more serious in comparison to Saquon Barkley. So just want to get your guys' feedback because I saw some of you guys bringing that up in the Dynasty Leagues today, especially about Saquon Barkley. So just interested to see where you guys are at with that. All right, so there's our second quarterback off the board after a little run at running back with Henry, Hall, Chubb, Pollard, Walker, Jacobs, and Harris. Hurts is gone at 3.5. We'll see how things continue to go. There goes Jahmyr Gibbs at the 3.6. Man, Sleeper has got to change Jahmyr Gibbs' ADP overall. It's gotten a little bit better, but they truly need to get that changed. I just feel like truly his ADP... Like, I've been arguing for a while now throughout the offseason that I think, come end of August, like, we're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs in the early second round. But there are certainly a lot of good running backs, kind of in the second through mid-third round area. And but I don't know, man. I think he'll definitely be closer to, like, the Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard area. I really, really do. So he continues to be a pretty good player to target in mock drafts right now because his value is very, very good. Chase says, Waddle is my wide receiver 1 in my work dynasty league. I'm happy since Hill might retire after 3 years. Yeah, I mean, I think Waddle's going to be fine. Basically, no matter what. But when you think about the connection between Tua and Waddle, at the end of the day, like, as long as he is tied to Tua, he's in a good position no matter what, right? Because those two have a unique chemistry, or at least have had a unique chemistry since their time in the league together and everything. So I just think the longer Tua's a quarterback of the Dolphins and Jalen Waddle is with the Dolphins, that's good. But yeah, certainly with the supposed rumors, I mean, coming from Tyreek Hill himself, don't get me wrong, that he might, just finish out his current contract and then move along. I think that would also be a promising sign for Waddle. Godfather, hello. Good to see you tonight. What's going on? How we doing? J-Dub says Jacobs can't because of his contract. Uh-oh. Catterick gets an auto pick. Gets Lamar at 4.9. I'm sure Cats will come back. Saquon technically can with no contract signed in hand. I think Jacobs on record saying that he will hold out. So I think he is signed, but he just doesn't care. He's like trying to do the Le'Veon Bell thing, right? Chase, I just prayed for 50-plus yards. Touchdown is Yak is insane and gets you insane points, which I love the high upside, 100%. You really go back and watch, you know, Tyreek Hill is like so electrifying and definitely like overshadows anyone else on that team. But if you really watch a lot of what Waddle did last year, a very, very different play style, but like you could argue played just as well. Box and the Jack, how we doing tonight? Hello, hello. Good to see you. All right, so fourth round wraps up there. We've got Alexander Madison, Travis Etienne, the only running backs gone in the fourth. A lot of wide receivers. Debo, Cooper, DJ Moore, McLaurin, Christian Watson, Keenan Allen, Drake London, Jerry Jeudy. And two quarterbacks gone in the fourth, in Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. As we move into the fifth, another two quarterbacks off the board in Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. So we will see how things continue to shape out. Raymond, what's going on, man? By Jacobs, they were dogging him at this time last year, too. Yeah, I mean, I'm on record for being a huge Josh Jacobs fan last offseason. And I am in no means, down on Josh Jacobs, but I just think that, and I don't think anyone's really down on his skill set or what he could potentially bring to the table this year for the Raiders and or just from a fantasy football perspective. But I do think there are fantasy managers who have a legit concern about him potentially holding out this year. So we'll have to see. But hey, sometimes buy low opportunities present themselves for a reason. You do want to take advantage of them. Albert, what's up, man? Good to see you tonight. Hello, hello. Always good to have you in the house. Charlie, what's up, dude? What's up, man? Good to have you drafting with us tonight. Let's switch. Let's go Herbie right here. Let's do it. Let's do it. Going to try and start switching up these builds because primarily my redraft mock drafts have just been like hero running back or like quadruple wide receivers to start, which like I don't mind either of the strategies, but they do leave me with like Geno Smith / Jared Goff or like Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson at quarterback. And I just want to switch it up a little bit, get some different strategies out there. This is a particular strategy that I ran a lot last year where I'm starting in the first round with either running back or wide receiver, depending on where I'm drafting from, depending on who falls, et cetera, et cetera. And then after that, going wide receiver. Then after that, going running back. Then after that, going wide receiver. Letting a quarterback fall to me. And then letting a tight end fall to me as well. So tonight, we'll let Herbert fall to us. We'll see what we come up with at tight end. I'm very sad Brandon Ayuk is off the board to end the fifth round. And into the sixth round, we will go. I mean, listen, guys, I've, as of late, been, very, very high on Brandon Ayuk. And, I mean, I've liked him all off season, but just based off of ADP, really, really, I've risen on Brandon Ayuk's fantasy value as of late. When you look at what he did last year, when you look at that offense, I mean, I just don't know how we really went into this offseason kind of disrespecting Ayuk, who was the wide receiver 15 last year in full PPR and standard scoring formats. But just over 1,000 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns, 78 receptions off 114 receptions last year. And just has been a great value all off season. But for, he's just kind of slowly crept up the draft board is the point I'm getting at. Like, there was a point where he was getting drafted in the 7th round for majority of the offseason, Then he kind of was in like the 6th round. And then there's kind of this area where it was like, he can go anywhere from like the 5th to the 7th, and it just kind of depends on who you're drafting with. And now I really feel like Brandon Ayuk is a player who's going to be solidified in the 5th round and could easily move up even further closer to the end of the 4th. When you look at his statistics, compared to guys like Drake London and Jerry Jeudy last year, for example, I don't see why he can't be in the same category as those players. I get that Debo's there. I get that George Kittle's there. I mean, I get that they run the football a lot. But I just think Ayuk is really primed for a very, very good year. Chase stole your guy. Love him, especially as my wide receiver 300%, man. I mean, would have been mine as well. Would have loved him there. But I'm still happy with Christian Kirk. I mean, I think Christian Kirk is another name. And you guys, I know you guys don't want another Christian Kirk lecture with how much I've talked about Christian Kirk this offseason. But I do think he is another player who is truthfully being disrespected in fantasy mocks and has been all off season. Once again, I understand that Calvin Ridley is there, but I just don't think that's like a death sentence for Christian Kirk, who garnered 133 targets last year, had 84 receptions, just over 1,100 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. Your wide receiver 11 last year in fantasy football. I understand what Calvin Ridley brings to the table, but Christian Kirk played out of the slot a majority of last season, and I just don't see any reason why he's not going to continue to be that kind of security blanket, check down guy for Trevor Lawrence on a pass-heavy team. I think Trevor Lawrence in his 3rd year can easily support 2 big-time wide receivers in Christian Kirk and in Calvin Ridley. Plus, Christian Kirk has the benefit of already, have been playing in this offense, already building that chemistry for a little bit longer with Trevor Lawrence. I've been saying it all off season, and I'm happy with where he's going in mock drafts because it gives me a chance to make him a potential wide receiver 3, some cases a wide receiver 4 on teams I'm building. But I just really, really do believe he's being pretty criminally undervalued as we continue to progress through the off season. Raymond, why can't I? We're back to when I can't pronounce names. What round is Tua going to go in? I'm not willing to draft a quarterback till the 7th round. Too many good players in the first 6 rounds to pass up on my opinion. So Tua, it just kind of depends on the draft you're in. There are quite a few drafts where Tua will fall back pretty significantly. Anywhere between like the 10th and 12th round. It really just depends on who you're drafting with, sometimes even later than that. But I would say between the 10th and 12th, and it just depends. I mean, there are, some fantasy managers who want to go out and get a second quarterback, for example, and then there are some who are perfectly fine with just one quarterback. Then there are fantasy managers who are going late round quarterback and ecstatic, and I don't necessarily blame them, as Tua as their quarterback 1 in a late quarterback build. So I think right now that's certainly a realistic possibility. But I do think that Tua has, as the offseason continues, I certainly think that Tua can move up draft boards. Right now, like on Sleeper's ADP, he's behind Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott. I don't think that's necessarily crazy. But I do think when you look at the Miami Dolphins offense, I definitely think that there's an argument for him to be in front of those guys. At the same time, I think with the injury concerns, I can see why he's a little bit behind them as well. All right, well, who do I want to draft here? All right, we'll go Tyler Lockett. We'll take the old man on this team. Why not? Raymond, I see 4 teams who haven't drafted a quarterback yet through 6 rounds. Those are the ones who got my attention in this draft. Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of the draft, kind of towards the beginning, or really like 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. Majority of my redraft mocks, that's what I've been doing, is going late round quarterback after either, establishing a hero running back build or just loading up at wide receiver early. Whatever it may be, those have really been my 2 primary redraft strategies as of late, and then going after a late round quarterback. But I do want to start to kind of get some builds in the mix where I am kind of taking a quarterback a little bit earlier and just kind of seeing how things shape out. But it is definitely hard. Like, there are so many good skill position players, and obviously that's going to be very, very important to your roster throughout the season. But, of course, quarterback is always going to be extremely, extremely beyond important, right? But when you do look at some of the late round guys, you know, Daniel Jones was your QB9 last year. Geno Smith was your QB5. Jared Goff is your QB10. They're all very, very attainable. Not to mention Kirk Cousins, your QB6. You could always go with, you know, a little bit of upside on top of that. If you are going to draft 2 quarterbacks, throw Anthony Richardson in there. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, your QB13 last year in fantasy football. I think a lot of people out there are of the belief that Rodgers will perform better this year than he did last year. So I do kind of like him in that late round mix as well. And then obviously when you look at, you know, a lot of the guys we just mentioned were quarterbacks last year that you could have gotten off the waiver wire and just, you know, ran home with it. I mean, not to mention guys like Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, who were also in that mix. But, you know, as bad as the quarterback, you know, when you look at the top, like, 6 quarterbacks last year, and the point differential between them and, like, everyone else, yeah, it was pretty intense. Don't get me wrong. But you could have definitely drafted a team last year where you did not, where you literally just ignored the quarterback position and got Trevor Lawrence and Jared Goff off the waiver wire, got Justin Fields. And, I mean, I know in a lot of my leagues, like, guys like Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr were dropped. I mean, if you were rostering Kirk Cousins and picked up Justin Fields, like, you were in a really good spot the second half of the season. So, and not to mention, I mean, Kirk Cousins had plenty of good starts as well. Like we said, he was a top 10 fantasy quarterback last year. So, there is certainly still an argument for the potential of late round quarterbacks, and I'm definitely still here for it at the end of the day. All right, let's see what's going up, Senior Cinnabon. Did I just say what's going up? What's going on, Senior Cinnabon? I did text Steven. I think he's probably asleep for the night, and we'll get through the draft for sure. It'll work itself out, but we'll see what happens. Maybe he'll come out of nowhere and make a pick. John Simmons, what's up? How we doing tonight? Good to see you. We got a lot of members of the Catch fam out here tonight. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being here tonight. Do me a favor and hit that like button if you guys haven't done so already. Good to see everyone in the house. Marco, can you see a potential bounce back with Deontay Johnson this year? I always feel shaky taking him. I mean, full PPR, I don't have a problem with Deontay Johnson. The ceiling was just not high last year for the obvious reason that he did not score any touchdowns. 147 targets, 86 receptions, 882 receiving yards, and that was all you really got. So you had a lot of weeks where, you know, literally if he just scored a couple touchdowns throughout the year, his rankings would have been totally different. He was your wide receiver 30 in full PPR last year, wide receiver 46 in standard scoring format. So he got you double digits. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games out of the year. But you had a lot of games in there, like 8.6 points, 9.5, 8.5 points, 9.9. Like very, very close to double digits. So, yeah, the ceiling, not high, right? But from a full PPR perspective in the 7th round, I'm not necessarily against him by any means. All right, give me Cole Kmet, be my tight end for the night. And we'll just kind of finish out. Let me see, how many? I think I'm even across the board. I should have, no. Got 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers. So we'll just finish out snagging a couple guys. All right, let's see. Ramon, give me Tua / Mike White and a load of wide receivers and running backs. That's my strategies. Fair enough. I mean, I think in your mock draft, I would draft Tua and a quarterback from another team. And if the Mike White situation comes up, then you fight for it on the waiver wire. I just think you put yourself in a position where you don't bank on Tua getting injured. Yeah, you draft a second quarterback behind him, like a Kyler Murray, a Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, even Jared Goff, any of those guys, really any of those other late round quarterbacks that we already went over. But if you have to go with an even later guy, I mean, all those players have the potential as well. Or maybe you stash away like a Stroud or a Bryce Young. Just that way, if Tua does not get hurt, you didn't waste a draft pick, And if that does pop up, then you just kind of fight for Mike White on the waiver wire, because I do think there will be other options throughout the season when it comes to the waiver wire and quarterbacks who pop up that you can potentially go after, who are, I don't know, probably worth it if if the Mike White thing doesn't work out necessarily. But yeah, I certainly don't have an issue with going late round quarterback at all. I don't. I know that, I wanted Jerick McKinnon right here. Like I said, I know when you look at how it was last year, with the tight end position, it kind of feels the same way because tight ends were an absolute mess last year. Oh no, I'm going to run out of time. Just give me Bateman. I don't have a problem with that at all. But yeah, I mean, the tight end position, like, I'm more worried about going late round tight end. Like, I think you can get good value at tight end. David Njoku, Evan Ingram, Cole Kmet, Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth still, a little bit later. Even Goddard and Waller win the 7th round tonight. So, like, I still think you can go late round tight end. I don't think you're completely screwed if you don't get one of the top tier options. But I just think if you don't have a consistent player at the position, I don't know. I just don't want to see a repeat of last year. Like, it was an absolute mess, Andrews fell off after Lamar was hurt. If you didn't really have Kelsey or Hawkinson, you're in a tough spot. I mean, second half of the season, Kittle was completely fine, but he always has some ups and downs. Pitts was an absolute disaster last year. Darren Waller was a disaster. Dallas Goedert got hurt mid-season. Evan Ingram didn't really have that tremendous amount of upside in his performances till the end of the year. And Njoku was pretty shaky. Even Cole Kmet didn't really get going to the second half. It was just a mess at the position. Dalton Schultz was hurt at the beginning of the year. Higbee had a little bit of a drop off, of course, with Matthew Stafford being injured. So I had a really good roster in one of my leagues last year where Dallas Goedert was my starter. And when he was hurt, I was just rotating Greg Dulcich and Hayden Hurst. Jawan Johnson was another name on the waiver wire, but I guess Gerald Everett was in the mix. But really outside of that, there's a lot of disappointment. I mean, Dawson Knox, major disappointment. Zach Ertz got hurt early in the year. Taysom Hill, you just couldn't trust in your starting lineup, even though he finished technically as a top 10 tight end in fantasy. It was just a messy year. And once again, similar to quarterback, the point differential between those top 4 guys and everyone else was really, really rough. And then the point differential between Travis Kelce and everyone else was ridiculous. He had 316 fantasy points last year. Hawkinson was your tight end 2. He had 215 fantasy points. It's a point differential of 100 points between the tight end 1 and 2. So I would be almost a little bit more worried about taking a shot on tight end late than quarterback at the moment. I mean, literally, I don't know if you guys remember last year, but there were points when I was making content and I must-start tight end videos and tight end rankings where every week I was like, guys, I don't know what we are going to do with the tight end position anymore this year. I don't know what waiver wire guys you should really be going after anymore. It certainly got really rough out there. So I just hope that does not happen again. All right. I'm a little worried at running back at this team. I would have been happy with McKinnon in the 10th being my 4th running back. But now I feel like I'm in a position where I'm not entirely confident. Let's go with the Chiefs player for some upside. Charlie, I'm liking my team so far. Let's see here. Shane, I had Trey and Russ both dropped, but got Fields and Geno. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, last year was certainly a good year to go after the quarterback position. Kami John, I appreciate it. What's up, man? Good to see you in the house. Fantasy Dogs in the house. What is up, my dude? Hello. John, love Cole Kmet this year. My team name Keeper League is Commit Me, bro. That's a good one. Could be a red zone monster. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. Okay, that's fair, Ramon. Yeah. Is Mike White a league winner? Just saying, first time I've heard his name this year. Been waiting. I'm not gonna go that far. I still have faith in Tua. I mean, the Dolphins, as an organization, have faith in him. I'm not gonna go that far quite yet. You know, if he's there on the waiver wire and Tua gets hurt, I think you fight for him at that point on the waiver. But I'm not gonna go that far quite yet. Kels, what's going on? Good to see you. J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, Cam Akers. Pick your order. Who would you draft this year? For me, I'm probably going Miles Sanders. I just think, you know, it would be Dobbins for me at that first spot, but I just think with the injury history, I'm not personally as confident as some other people out there might be. Let me make this draft selection. It's going to be Dalton Schultz. I don't particularly like how I don't hate this team. I just don't particularly like how it turned out. I'm probably going Sanders, Dobbins, Akers. Oh, I don't know, man. That's tough. I do like Akers quite a bit, and I do think at the end of the day, even with Dobbins' injury history, like he should be fully recovered, and like we're certainly going to expect that offense to be better this year than it was last year. Everyone should be healthy. New offensive coordinator. Lamar's doing his thing. Odell Beckham's there, for crying out loud. I mean, I don't know how much impact that's actually going to have, but that's a really tough 3 running backs to evaluate. Let's see where they went tonight. Sanders at the 5.9, Dobbins at the 5.11, and Akers all the way down to 8.3. I mean, based off that, I like the value of Akers quite a bit, but as much as I do really like Cam Akers, I mean, there was a point this offseason where I talked a lot about Cam Akers. And I think the bigger question is there's been a lot of rumors that the Rams could bring in a veteran running back, but like, let's face it, any team could bring in a veteran running back at any point, right? And then there's also reports coming out that Akers is going to be like the centerpiece of the Rams offense. So it's a tough situation to read right now. I do like Sanders as I think he's just in the most stable, clear-cut RB1 situation, even with Chuba Hubbard there, who I still think could garner some touches, right? I'd probably go Sanders, Dobbins, Akers, but man, I like all those guys in their own sense. Ramon says, I always draft tight end super late. I don't value that position. I'll take Kelsey in round 2, though. Fair enough. John says Sam Laporta could be the steal of the tight end class. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very interesting year for rookie tight ends. I think we could have a number of rookie tight ends who actually bring value to the table right away, but I still think like I've been staying away from it because I still think it's a risky situation overall. Just with the fact that historically rookie tight ends don't perform well in their first season. Cinnabon says Sanders, Dobbins, Akers, but you can make an argument to flip Akers and Dobbins. Yeah, I think I feel the exact same way. Thomas, hearing Taysom Hill is getting more involved in the Saints' offense this year. He wants to be in the wide receiver slot more. I have seen that as well. And, does it really surprise any of us? No. I mean, Taysom Hill at this point should be playing long snapper and kicking the football for crying out loud. But I think Taysom Hill, especially in redraft and best ball formats, is a player who we should be heavily considering at the end of drafts. Let's see. Kelsey's still looking like the number one and only option, Kansas City. I mean, he's the clear-cut number one for sure, Smokey. But I think when you look at that roster, I don't know. There's quite a few players who I think can step up, right? I think it's going to be similar to last year where there's a lot of people involved and some of them are reaching higher ceilings at different points in the season. There's inconsistencies and potentially even injuries. But I think a lot of people aren't talking about MVS. Played very well throughout the playoffs. I think he can certainly be a factor this year. I'm not saying go out and target him like crazy, but I do think just from a football perspective, him and Patrick Mahomes are going to continue to have that chemistry. I think he's a good security blanket type option. Then obviously, Kadarius Toney, if he can stay healthy, is going to be that player who can stretch the field, bring that kind of upside on a play-to-play basis, and as long as he can stay healthy, is going to be relevant. And then obviously, Rashee Rice is there. Rice, interesting player to bring into the mix, and I definitely think a tough catch kind of player, contested catch kind of player. Had a really good senior year overall. So I think that he can certainly get in the mix. And then you have Sky Moore as that kind of change of pace guy. Kind of does a little bit of gadget plays all over the place. I would like to see him develop into a slot type receiver, but just obviously had a disappointing rookie year. And then I think Richie James is there now. There's certainly players who can bring a lot to the table, and it's going to come down to, at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes can elevate any of those guys. It's just who's going to take advantage of that. So I wouldn't say Kelsey's the only option, but I do think he is the only consistent option until we see something further. John says Mike Mayer could easily finish as a top 10 tight end. You look at Laporta, Musgrave, Mayer, they're all stepping in without any real competition behind them. So I think that's fair, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, historically it has. I think Kincaid has Dawson Knox. I think I get that Kincaid is a very different style player than Dawson Knox, but at the end of the day, Dawson Knox has an established chemistry with Josh Allen. I still think he'll be a factor. Whatever type of factor that may be. Kels, do you guys believe Hall will have a good year 1 year after major injury? Usually takes 2 years. Yes. I'm still a fan of Breece Hall. I like where he's going in mocks. I think this offense is going to be very good next year. So, I am not worried about Breece Hall. If this team was kind of still in limbo, they didn't have Rodgers at quarterback, it didn't feel like everything was kind of moving in a positive direction, Zach Wilson and/or someone else at quarterback was who they were rolling with, I wouldn't feel as good about Breece Hall overall, but I feel great about Breece Hall. Was on a tremendous pace last year. I think you make a good point, and obviously the organization to some degree could be saying something about that with the fact that they went out and drafted Izzy. They still have Michael Carter. They still have Zonovan Knight. They've supposedly been rumored to have wanted Jahmyr Gibbs at the beginning of the draft and supposedly have been rumored to be in the mix for guys like Dalvin Cook in free agency. So I'm going to stick with my gut and continue to be a fan of Breece Hall. I think he'll be just fine. But, hey, injuries always affect players to some degree, right? All right, let's see. Let me try and get caught up here. Shane asks, how many bench spots is the right amount in redraft? That's a good question, Shane. You know, I have played in leagues with 4 bench spots, and I actually like that a lot because it presents a challenge and it keeps the waiver wire much, much more competitive as well. It really, like, it forces you to really think before you drop a player, and whether you're, a team that's really contending midseason or a team that's in the fight for the playoffs or even a team that's not doing well, you have an opportunity to get a good player every single week and even in between weeks as well. But I don't think that's really I think that's probably not the right number for every league out there. I think 5 is the perfect number, but I think 6 is okay for certain leagues as well. It just depends. Like in a double flex league, I think 6 bench spots is okay. But I just think 5 is a good overall number. But like I said, I think 4 is kind of fun as well. I don't think you need any more than 6. Obviously you're not going to have any less than 4. But it depends. Like, is it a double flex league? Is it a super flex league? All those things matter. I think super flex, double flex, I think 6 is fine. But I just feel like 5 overall is the right number. 4 is fun. If you guys want a good challenge, playing a league with 4 bench spots. Seriously. Kels, who has a better season, Christian Watson or Jerry Jeudy? Ooh, the tough questions tonight. I mean, if you look at the Broncos offense, it's probably Jerry Jeudy. If Sean Payton coming in as the new head coach, Russell Wilson is sliding around in beautiful offseason shape. In all seriousness, I do hope that Russell Wilson has a good year after all the crap he got last year. Rightfully so. But I do think a lot of last year had to do with Nathaniel Hackett, injuries, a lot not going their way. At the same time, that offense was like watching paint dry when they were on the field. But, I'm kind of rooting for Russell Wilson. And I mean, I think he's obviously got a good supporting crew around him with Cortland Sutton. You've got Marvin Mims there. You got Greg Dulcich. You got Javonte Williams coming back. So, I think I'll go Jerry Jeudy. But I don't know, man. I do like me some Christian Watson quite a bit. I'll say this much. I actually probably like the upside of Christian Watson more. And I'm probably drafting Christian Watson before I draft Jerry Jeudy right now. So I guess I actually probably have to say Christian Watson, but on paper it's probably Jeudy, if that makes any sense. All right, let me try and continue to get caught up here. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm going to let you guys chat. And I'm just going to start going over teams so I don't lose that in the chat. So, let's do some team reviews. Cats at the 1.4. We got Lamar at QB and Njoku and Higbee. I think you're perfectly fine in redraft format. With Lamar at quarterback and the tight end room you've got here. Najee, Dameon Pierce, Monty, Brian Robinson, Roschon Johnson. I love this running back room. Very good value throughout the draft tonight. Really, really like the running backs here. Kupp, Higgins, Pittman, Sky Moore. I mean, you're a little bit lighter at wide receiver, and you got Marvin Jones here as well. You know, the Lions, when you look at what they did at wide receiver last year, behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, you saw a pretty heavy rotation of guys. So I do think there's some potential for Josh Reynolds and Marvin Jones to have some fantasy value in redraft formats. So these are 5th wide receiver, and I think that's okay in redraft. But, you'd be starting Lamar, starting Njoku, starting Harris and Pierce, starting Kupp and Higgins, flexing Pittman, and you're probably flexing Montgomery, but you have Brian Robinson, Sky Moore, and Roschon Johnson. I do think Johnson's going to come on towards the second half of the season. Team's pretty solid to me. I think, between waivers and trades, this team could certainly be competitive. So, I mean, in a double flex full PPR league, I'm looking to, flex 2 wide receivers, but you can always get by with the running back in there as well. All right, J-Dubs, what we do tonight, man? At the 1.1, we got Justin Fields and Jared Goff at quarterback. Say no more. I'm perfectly fine with that. And Conquo and Greg Dulcich, you're completely fine there as well. Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Rashad Penny, Devon Achane, an interesting little running back room here. But being led by Chubb and Pollard, I think that's fine. I love Achane. In redraft, I still like Achane as an RB4. JJ, Judy, JSN, Hollywood, Shaheed. Yeah, perfectly fine at this wide receiver room. I love Rashid Shaheed in the 12th or 13th round, whatever it may be, as your last pick or your second to last pick right now. I'm all for it. Surprised he hasn't really moved up in ADP too much. All right, so you'd be starting Fields and I'm going to say Dulcich. Chubb and Pollard, JJ and Judy, flexing JSN and flexing Hollywood. I do think we're going to be able to, play JSN sooner rather than later. You could have Shaheed in that spot, potentially Penny or Achane as well. But I think you'd probably just have JSN and Hollywood and see what happens. I think any rookie, it's fair that they start off a little bit slower, but I think JSN is going to be perfectly fine this year. So, team looks pretty good to me, man. Astro, what we get into tonight? Allen at quarterback, Kelsey at tight end, early QB, early tight end. I mean, you're perfectly fine in both positions, of course. ETN, Connor, Akers, Bigsby, Ford, and Spears. Interesting little handcuffs there at the end. At wide receiver, we got Adams, Godwin, Burks, Juju, and Elijah Moore. Okay. I think Elijah Moore is a great pick in the 10th round. I don't mind going after, several kind of handcuff running backs at the end there. I think Bigsby makes a lot of sense for you having ETN. I like Jerome Ford a lot. I might go with initial wide receiver over Tajay Spears, but I'm not totally against it. So you'd be starting Allen and Kelsey, starting Etienne and Connor, starting Adams and Godwin. Then you're flexing Elijah Moore, flexing Akers, but you could flex Burks, could flex Juju for a low ceiling. And then you got 3 handcuff running backs. And I think in redraft, that's always okay to have a couple handcuff type guys. Like I said, I might go for an additional receiver over Spears, but all in all, looks fine to me. How do you feel about it, man? All right, let's see here. Coast to coast. What did we get into tonight? Watson and Danny Dimes. I can live with that. T-Hawk at tight end. JT, Barkley, Dobbins, Charbs, and Singletary. Running backs are completely fine. Ridley, Debo, Tony, Beckham, Boyd. See, like a couple builds tonight where I feel like running back depth outweighed total wide receivers. I want, in a double flex, full PPR, more wide receivers and running backs. But I think this running back room is quite good, so I'm not going to argue against it. Starting Watson and T-Hawk, starting JT and Barkley, starting Ridley and Debo, flexing Tony, flexing Dobbins. Leaves you with Beckham, Charbs, Boyd, Singletary. I mean, it's a pretty good bench. And Danny Dimes on the bench. So, yeah, it's a good team. I do like that squad. All right, box in the jack. We got a late round QB build here. We got Rodgers and staph infection. Mandrews at tight end. Sanders, Pacheco, Gibson, Damian Harris, Jerick McKinnon. I love what you were able to do at running back tonight. At wide receiver, we got A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, Mike Williams, and Adam Thielen. There are quite a few other wide receivers I'd probably take before Adam Thielen. Probably won't kill you as your wide receiver 5. You can always drop him if you need to. But I like guys like Rondell Moore, Rashid Shaheed, a lot more than Thielen right now. But nonetheless, it's your last skill position guy of the night. So we're starting Rodgers, starting Andrews, starting Hollywood. Excuse me, I'm starting Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown. Don't know where I got Hollywood from. Starting Cooper, starting Sanders and Pacheco. Then in that last flex, I mean, Mike Williams, Gibson, Damian Harris, McKinnon, and I guess even Thielen are all options. I like this team a lot. You know, if Rodgers does what most people are thinking he's going to do this year, you know, have the stack with Garrett Wilson, it's a very good team, for sure. Cinnabon, you caught me. I was like, I literally looked for your team. All right, let's see. Tommy at the 1.2. T-Law, quarterback. Ingram and Laporta. Completely fine at quarterback and tight end. A little stack with Ingram and T-Law. Hall, Walker, Swift, Foreman, Brown. I like the running backs. Chase, London, Dotson, Lazard, Mingo. I mean, I like this squad, Tommy. Not like a tremendous amount of upside, but I think a well-built roster for going into the season with between trades and waiver wires. I think this team could be really good, actually. You'd be starting Telon Ingram, starting Hall and Walker, starting Chase and London, flexing Swift and Dotson, but you could flex Lazard if Mingo comes on, which, you know, a lot of people are pretty confident in. Mingo could be in the flex. And I think Foreman and Chase Brown are very good bench options on top of Laporta. So I like this team a lot, Tommy. I think it's a good draft for you, man. Get a little Jag stack. I love Dotson in the 7th. Yeah, I like that team. John says Sky Moore reminds me of a Chase Claypool type dude. I could... Actually, I hope that doesn't happen, but it could. Thoughts on Calvin Ridley this season? I mean, I'm fine with Calvin Ridley. Don't get me wrong. But I'd rather draft Christian Kirk based on his current value. I just... Calvin Ridley in the 3rd tonight. Kirk in the 6th. I'd rather take Kirk. All right, let me get caught up here. 420 Fantasy Hustlers in the house. What's up, Hus? Good to see you, bro. How we doing, man? Appreciate you coming out tonight. I'm way behind on the chat. Way behind. Okay, I might just go to the very bottom. All right, here we go. Sir Bongs a lot. What's up, bro? Box in the Jack says, I like Thielen, wide receiver 1 on Carolina. I have a lot of faith in Bryce Young. I mean, I do like Young. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't know if Adam Thielen's actually the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver with DJ Chark there, Terrace Marshall there as well. And then going out and drafting Jonathan Mingo on top of Hayden Hurst being there. And then, you know, Miles Sanders not really a threat in terms of a receiving back with, you know, 28 or fewer receptions in his last 3 years. So not necessarily worried about Miles Sanders, but I'm not really worried about Chuba Hubbard either. But I do think Hubbard's going to be part of that offense. So I think that Thielen could be the primary option, but it's really going to be dependent on who does Bryce Young develop with the best. And that could be, in my opinion, any of those guys. But I get what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. You did get me sent a bunch. I was like, oh, there's no 13th team. Best Dogs, what's up, dude? It's good to see you. I like Drake London personally, and I like Jahan Dotson, and I like Alan Lazard, and I think Mingo has some decent upside. So I actually like that wide receiver room. But I don't disagree that there's a drop-off between Chase and London. Draft of the night. That's a tough one. Because as we continue to go, there were like more and more teams I liked. I do like Tommy's team tonight. I might just be boring and hand it to Tommy. I really do like Box and the Jack's team as well. Those are probably my 2 favorite teams I went over tonight. Tommy's and Box and the Jack. Box and the Jack dependent on Aaron Rodgers having a good season. Personally, if I'm drafting Rodgers, I'd probably go for like Daniel Jones over Stafford. Go for a little bit of a younger guy. But I know that there are enough people in the fantasy community who view Stafford as a late round guy. And I'm good with that, too, if that's what you want to go with. But yeah, if Rodgers has a good season and or Stafford, I think this team is in a really good spot. So those are probably my two favorite teams we went over. Isn't Thielen a Cup-like type? I mean, I don't know if anyone's really a Cup-like player. Like Cup is in his own league. But, I mean, Thielen has had a productive career. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like out on Thielen, but when you just look at last year, you know, he was fully healthy, where in 2021, he didn't miss some time, was on a great pace before he got hurt. And last year just didn't, I mean, had some good games, don't get me wrong, especially when he scored touchdowns. But 70 receptions off 107 targets. That wasn't, well, I mean, I don't know. He only missed like 4 games 2021, so not a good comparison. But I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm not against Adam Thielen being the potential guy, but he is age 32 going into his 11th year. And I just think it's going to be dependent on Bryce Young and who he develops the best with. And like I said, I won't be surprised if Chark, even Terrace Marshall, or Mingo kind of take over that primary target share. So I think Thielen will be a good security blanket, as well as Hayden Hurst, but I don't know from a fantasy perspective how much upside that necessarily brings to the table. It's good to see you as well, Best Dogs. What's up, bro? Appreciate you coming out to the stream tonight. We've missed you, dog. Chase, I missed your squad if you asked me, so we'll take a look for sure. Tua time and Geno, this is like the perfect example of a team we were talking about earlier. I'm fine with that. Freiermuth, still my guy. I'm completely fine with that. Aaron Jones, Alexander Madison, Rachaad White, Samaje Perine. I can live with it. I still feel like 4.1 is too early for Madison, but that's his ADP now. I thought he'd finish, after the Cook release settled and everything. I thought he would finish like in the Miles Sanders to Pacheco type area, maybe even close to like the Montgomery type area drafts. I would still draft ETN before him, maybe even Purist. And I just think he's closer to somewhere between Sanders and Monty in drafts, personally. But I get that people really, really like Madison, and his ADP is going to be dependent off of that. I feel better about Rachaad White going into next year than I do Alexander Madison. So, but I'm fine with Jones at the end of the third. So, Perine is fine in the 9th as well. Okay, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Quentin Johnston, Rondale Moore, and Jaden Reed. I'm fine with your wide receivers. I really, really like your wide receiver room. I mean, you kind of take a dart throw on Reed at the end of the draft. I think it's probably worth it. You got 2 rookies, but hey, rookie wide receivers have been productive sooner rather than later as of late, so I'm fine with that. I'm starting to grow on Quentin Johnston quite a bit. And I'm starting to take more shots on rookie wide receivers in multiple drafts. It's just, they are productive way sooner than they used to be. So, all right, we're starting Tua or Geno, whoever you really want there. Starting Freiermuth, starting Jones and Madison. Could be Rachaad White. I would be starting Jones and Rachaad White. But I'm going to assume if you drafted Madison in the 4th, you're probably starting him. Starting Diggs, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, and Quentin Johnston, but you could put Rachaad White in that second flex. You might do that to start the year, then see what happens with Johnson. Perine, Moore, Reed, and your other quarterback on the bench. I do really like this team, Chase, but I'm still drafting Travis Etienne before Madison. If you did that, that might overcome my team of the night. Marco, thoughts on mine at the 3 spot. I feel like this is kind of the opposite of my usual teams, with it being more RB focused. Couldn't resist the value of Jacobs and Henry. All right, Burrow at QB, Kittle at tight end. You're fine. I mean, I always recommend, injury-prone tight ends. Even though Kittle's like a ridiculous player, he can still finish as a top 3 guy, top 4 guy when he misses a little bit of time. Maybe draft a second tight end at the end of your draft behind them. But nonetheless, Kittle's very good. You're fine there. Henry, Jacobs, Jamal, Mitchell, Fournette. See, I'd probably take a dart throw tight end over Fournette, but that's fine. Hill, Addison, Johnson, Flowers, 2 rookies in there. Myers, Gabe Davis. Yeah, and like we were just talking about, I mean, rookie wide receivers are starting to blossom sooner rather than later. So I'm not necessarily against this. Gabe Davis in the 12th, I don't necessarily mind. I'm just glad a lot of people in our community are not reaching for Gabe Davis. I think Myers has some nice value too. So I like this team, actually. I think this team's okay. And you're starting Burrow and Kittle, Henry and Jacobs, Hill and Johnson. Then you're probably over the course of the season flexing Addison and Flowers. But beginning of the season, you could see guys like Jamal and Myers and Gabe Davis in there. Then Mitchell is kind of in a handcuff situation, but also a unique situation where he still gets touches. So he could make his way in there against bad defenses as well. All right, let's see. Let's see. Maybe I'm a Madison lover too much. I mean, go out and get your guys. Go and get who you have conviction. But I just think I'm a little bit surprised as ADP is shot up so drastically. I really thought after, Cook was officially released and everything, he'd be somewhere between, the Miles Sanders, David Montgomery range. Sanders, Dobbins, White, Connor, Pacheco, Kamara, Cook, Monty, Swift. I thought he'd be somewhere in that mix. So 4.1, I still like a couple running backs more than Madison right now. Let's see. All right, so what I'm going to do is, like I said at the beginning of the stream, for the Dynasty Leagues, I'm going to save that because we're very close to wrapping up both leagues. And, I'm actually on the clock in league number 2. So, my bad, league number 2. But, obviously, I've been streaming. So, yeah, League 1, we got a green dot from Steven. I don't know if he's actually in there. But we have 3 more picks in league number 1. And the last round has certainly gotten interesting with some of you guys being over the roster limit and just picking players that you're going to drop. So we do have Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Ryan Fitzpatrick on the board, which I absolutely love. But, I'm going to save, it's just, oh my gosh, we got a pick from Steven. We might finish the draft right now. We might finish it tonight. But nonetheless, I'm saving the Dynasty reviews, like I said at the beginning of the stream. League number 1's going to finish. Tommy, you're on the clock. You could be the final pick, which is exciting. I'm very sad that the Dynasty, I still have one more Dynasty League I'm running this year. But, yeah, I'm not going to pull up the Dynasty Leagues or draft rooms or anything. I think tomorrow's stream, that'll be the plan. We'll go over League 1's Dynasty teams. And, man. Chase, I'm going to sit down right after the stream and put out all the details for the 1 quarterback league. So do not worry. That is coming right after the stream. That's what I'm going to do. So I know you guys want me to look at the Dynasty teams. And like I said, 5 minutes in the stream, I'm going to save it for tomorrow. And then I'm going to do a separate stream for league number 2, which will probably be Thursday or Friday night. So we're going to kind of break down the draft a bit, going to go through each team. I'm not going to break down every single trade because you guys are ridiculous with your trades. But I'm going to break down the draft board a little bit, break down each team, give you guys some reviews, and let you guys kind of roast my team, at least in League 1. And, League number 1 is officially finished. So, there it is. There's your full draft board. But yeah, I will be breaking down everything for League number 1 tomorrow and giving you guys team reviews. So I'm excited for that. It's kind of bittersweet. I'm sad to see this one end. And league number 2 is going to wrap up within the next day or two as well. So, crazy. Congrats, league number 1, for finishing the draft. And thank you, Steven, for coming through. All right, let's quickly roast my team, and then we'll end the stream for tonight. I need to undraft or unpause it. Oh, that was cool. We got a little cool noise. Okay, there you go. All right, here's my redraft team for the mock. Herbert, Komet, Schultz. I'd be okay with that. Eckler, Stevenson, Dillon, Gainwell. Yeah, running back got a little scary at the end there because I kind of was passing on running back after taking too early, but I think I could get through with this crew between waivers and trades and everything. I like Eckler and Stevenson a lot going into next year, and I do think Dillon and Gainwell are good at their value. Waddle, DJ Moore, Kirk, Lockett, Bateman, Rice. See, like, I'm okay with that, but I'm just so used to getting so stacked up at wide receiver early. But we went a little bit, we let a quarterback fall to us in the 5th round. I think that was okay, too. So, yeah, I like this team. Nothing crazy. I think it's perfectly fine. I'd be happy with that squad. How many days did League 1 take? How many days did we take? I can tell you. Oh, no. It took the whole... It took the draft board thing off the... It usually tells us... hold on. I can figure it out. Because now I actually want to know. Here we go. Oh, no. It doesn't tell us a date. So annoying. I don't know how many days it took. Hold on. I feel like there should be a way I can check this. Much, much easier. No, I don't know how many days it took. I think it was more than 8 days, though. If anyone knows, let me know, because I'm having, like, an aneurysm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight's stream. So thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out, talking fantasy. We had a great stream tonight. It was really good to see a lot of the community in the house tonight. I really, really appreciate you guys, all your guys' support throughout the offseason, and just everything that you guys do, man. Love you guys. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. Tomorrow's stream, we'll be going over some dynasty teams for League number 1. So I'm excited for that. And maybe, I don't know, we'll do something after that as well. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. So appreciate you guys, man. Had a lot of fun with you guys. For everyone who came out tonight, you guys know who you are. Thank you guys. And that'll wrap it up. And yeah, man. That's going to do it. So let me know if you guys need anything. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on the way out. And thank you for being here tonight. Be sure to check out all the links down below. Follow us on Instagram. Join our free Discord to join future mock drafts and get future mock draft invites, as well as year-round fantasy advice and community feedback. So hit the like button on the way out, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. With that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And